Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining this webinar. So today we will be diving into the key talent and recruitment trends across Asia, the rising role of contracting in the region, and how it compares with permanent hiring. Actually, the session should run approximately 45 minutes in total, and we will wrap up with a Q&A session. So please feel free to ask any question at any time by clicking on the Q&A button. If we can't get to your question live, we will follow up individually because there's quite a few of us today. So today your speakers will be Prerna Bajaj, who is our Asia Director for Contracting, Jean-Roch Martin, who is our Senior Advisor for Interim Management, and myself, Pierre Turgis. I'm managing Morgan Phillips Group's operations in Asia, outside of China and Taiwan. So I'll start by telling you quickly about what we do, what Morgan Phillips does, before we get to the topic. So Morgan Phillips Group is an international talent solutions provider. Karen, I'm not sure if we can move to the slide. Yeah, here it is. Morgan Phillips Group is an international talent solutions provider, as I was telling you, which was founded in Europe back in 2013. Since then, we've grown into a global business with more than 500 recruiters across 22 countries in total. Here in Asia, we have 7 offices. We are based in Hong Kong, in Taipei, in Shanghai, Guangzhou, Shenzhen, Zhuhai, and Kuala Lumpur. And we will be opening 2 more offices in Asia Pacific in 2026. And for markets where we don't have a direct presence, we support clients through our regional hub in Hong Kong. So our services, as you see, cover the full spectrum of recruitment. We provide contracting and temporary recruitment through our Morgan Phillips contracting brand. We do interim management via Morgan Phillips Interim Management. And we recruit for permanent mid to senior level roles through Morgan Phillips Specialist Recruitment. And we provide high-level executive search services with our Morgan Phillips Executive Search brand. So I'll be sharing a quick snapshot of recruitment trends across Asia's major hubs. Since this isn't the main focus of today's session, we will keep it high level and we will just touch on the key takeaways. But if you're curious about a specific location, or if you want to dig deeper into any of these trends, feel free to reach out to me directly after the webinar. For each location we will discuss, you will see a green badge, which will indicate a dynamic recruitment market with a strong intent to hire, or a red badge, which will signal basically a stagnant or tough recruitment market for candidates, reflecting things like hiring freezes or hesitations, for example. So we will go north to south. We will start with North Asia and with Japan. So Japan's economy is outperforming expectations in 2025, and that's driving hiring across most sectors. But there's a big challenge ahead. You might have heard about this before. Nearly a third of the Japanese population is already over 65, and this means that the workforce is shrinking fast. Japan's working age population is on track to drop from about 76 million in 2020 to just 66 million by 2040. And this talent crunch will be felt everywhere. And while opportunities are opening up, hiring in Japan remains extremely selective. Top local professionals, they also often prefer major domestic firms or conglomerates over multinationals, which makes it harder for international employers to compete for talent. The silver lining is that Japan has recently relaxed its immigration policies, and more overseas professionals are starting to move there. I mean, that's not a full solution, but it's an important step toward bridging the gap. For Korea, then, South Korea's economy is growing at a steady pace, and what's really driving that growth is high-tech, semiconductors, AI, renewable energy, and also biotech. We also see strong government incentives in these areas, and the hiring market has stayed very, very dynamic in Korea. But just like in Japan, major conglomerates are still the top choice for top local professionals, which makes competition tough for other international employers. At the same time, more doors are opening. Foreign talent is increasingly welcome to help close the skills gap in Japan. Now we'll move to Greater China, which is a big piece. So in Greater China, we'll start with mainland China. So see, mainland China is highlighted in red because we all know that its economy has taken a hit over the last couple of years. I mean, after years of prosperity, the country is now experiencing moderate growth and low consumer confidence. Issues like regulatory crackdowns, real estate struggles, trade wars, tariffs, geopolitical uncertainties haven't really helped. There's also been a lot of China bashing from the West, which affected foreign investments. And as a result, mainland China is one of the toughest markets for candidates in Asia Pacific right now. There are less foreigners in the job market compared to pre-COVID times, leading to a more localized workforce. On a brighter note, the recruitment market is still seeing some movement, and this is due to a declining working age population, similar to Japan. For example, the average age of Chinese workers has risen from 32 years old in 1985 to 41 nowadays, and this is creating ongoing demand for top talent. Also, what's noticeable in mainland China is that local tech, AI, and EV companies are raising the bar for talent, and they are pushing competencies and educational levels higher, which also boost the competitiveness of Chinese professionals globally. And interestingly, as educational levels rise, there's a growing desire for better work-life balance in mainland China, which clashes basically with the notorious 996 culture. If you've not heard about this before, this means working from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week, and this could lead to generational tensions in the near future in mainland China. Now about Hong Kong. So the Hong Kong recruitment market is almost as challenging as in mainland China, we would say, with a general sense of economic pessimism, which is affecting hiring. Recruitment volumes in Hong Kong are low, very low. For example, in 2024, about 40% of employees in Hong Kong were looking for new roles, but only 14% landed them. High operating costs in Hong Kong are also encouraging many companies to move parts of their teams to South China in hubs like Guangzhou or Shenzhen or even Dongguan, for example. We are seeing very few new positions created, and in many cases, when someone leaves, they aren't replaced. And this has led to a rise of what we call accidental managers, which means people who are unprepared or even willing sometimes to lead teams. And this is creating a lot of frustrations in many companies. For this year in Hong Kong, only 30% of the workforce is actively job hunting, which is significantly lower than the previous years. We are noticing a trend which is called job hugging, where fewer candidates are willing to leave their current roles due to these economic uncertainties we mentioned and due to limited external opportunities as well, even if these people are unhappy in their current positions. And a final trend in Hong Kong, which has been noticeable, the talent market has become less foreigner friendly than it used to be, except for mainland Chinese professionals who are welcomed for their language skills and ability to connect with the Greater China region. So a bit more optimism now with Taiwan. Taiwan is currently the most dynamic recruitment market in Greater China. The economy has shown a lot of resilience thanks to major investments in technology, electronics, semiconductors, and this led to a very intense competition for talent among companies. And unlike mainland China and Hong Kong, Taiwan currently is a candidate-driven market where organizations go the extra mile to attract talent, literally. Taiwan is also experiencing a growing workforce gap, with projections estimating a shortage of 500,000 skilled workers by 2030. And as a result, the country is becoming the most foreigner-friendly talent market in the Greater China region, actively seeking to draw in talent from abroad like never before. Now let's move further down south with Southeast and South Asia. Starting with Singapore. So Singapore, as you probably all know, used to be the go-to hub in Asia for international talent during and a few years after COVID. It was one of the least restrictive places, literally, in Asia for regional business, attracting significant foreign investments and immigrations. We saw a lot of people from Greater China relocating to Singapore during COVID years. But however, this influx has led to inflation and market saturation, which resulted in a sharp slowdown in the talent market that started last year. Consequently, we're seeing a rise, at least, in protectionism from the government, with more restrictions on foreign talent to obtain employment passes. High operating costs, same problem as in Hong Kong, have also encouraged employers to relocate teams to nearby Southeast Asian economies like Malaysia, Thailand, and Vietnam. Now, talking about Southeast Asia, in Southeast Asia, and particularly in Malaysia, in Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, and in the Philippines, all these countries are benefiting from the slowdown in the traditional Asia hubs of Shanghai, Hong Kong, and Singapore. These countries are attracting more foreign investments due to lower operating costs and friendlier tax policies than before. We're seeing a rising demand for foreign talent in Southeast Asia too, especially for those who speak Chinese or Japanese, and that's thanks to new trade partnerships in the region. Strong investments in factories and automation are also boosting the demand for top talent in supply chain, engineering, and manufacturing. And as a result, Southeast Asia, excluding Singapore at the moment, has become a dynamic, candidate-driven market post-COVID, with companies actively working to retain talent. And now for India, last but not least, India truly is one of the hottest hiring markets in the world right now. In 2025, it ranks second globally in terms of hiring intent, with 40% of employers in India planning to hire. Just to give you a little context, the United Arab Emirates are first with a 45% intent to hire. The tech sector in India is booming with high demand for roles in AI, data science, cyber security, and software development. And both startups and established companies are in fierce competition for skilled tech professionals. And on top of that, employees are increasingly focusing on enforcing more diversity and inclusion policies and practices. And with regards to the internationalization of the talent pool, well, India has many skilled and educated local talent, and this is reducing the need to rely on foreign hires, making the workforce largely localized. So that's all for me and the recruitment trends in the region. Thanks a lot for your attention. Now I will let Jean-Roch tell you more about the contracting recruitment market in Asia. Thank you.
Thank you, Pierre. So basically, we're going to define a little bit the market size because contracting is quite new and it's a little bit difficult to identify some sources for basically reliable studies. But we were able to find one, which is from a research firm called MRA and focusing on year 24 and published in April 25. The fees market for contracting globally is reaching $25 billion already, and it's a very dynamic growth of 7% per annum. And it expects then to reach 35 billion by 2034. When we look basically at the split, APAC is 15% of this global market, and mostly a few countries are dynamic, as explained by Pierre, basically on describing the environment on the perm hiring. Some of the countries with difficulties in perm hiring are actually dynamic in contracting, which is the case for mainland China, Hong Kong, and then also Japan, Singapore, Malaysia, and Australia. When we look at the players, basically, so we have approximately 55%, which is covered by the tier one consulting firms, and 45%, which is regional solutions, such as Morgan Phillips. We have already explained we cover 22 countries in the world. So basically, we are in between the regional and the tier one. Okay, so now when we look at the APAC economy, the APAC economy is going very fast as compared to other regions in the world. If we look at the sources from World Bank, the projection for 25, Southeast Asia is on a growth of 6.6% this year, and East Asia and Pacific is at plus 4.5. So this combined to the post-COVID environment created opportunities for both perm and contracting market. If we take Hong Kong, which is our domestic country here, according to the census, we have actually about the same population in 24 than in 21, but in between we have welcomed, and we are all well aware of that, some talent visa almost exclusively coming from mainland China at 96%. And basically, they reach 180,000 visa plus 170 dependent visa. So that's a total of 350,000. And if you followed, because the population is about the same as 21, that means that in between, it is estimated that we have left 350,000, being a mix of expatriates and native Hong Kongese. So this movement have resulted into a very dynamic market on certain industry and certain segments. Perm is a little bit deteriorated, but contracting is pushing very hard, while before it was not very developed in Hong Kong. Today, we're in a market where both the companies and the candidates do consider this as one opportunity for different reasons, but we start to see exponential growth on contracting in Hong Kong in some areas. The trend is the same in mainland China and in Japan. And Japan is one of the countries where we invest the most, where Morgan Phillips invests the most in 25 and 25th. We can elaborate on this later because it's not the topic for today. All right, so when we look at what's driving the contracting, is basically mostly the technology gains and AI. Regulatory constraints, the new environment and the new markets, the resources globalization, ESG and similar green initiative, and the hunt for efficiency setup. The main sector which are very dynamic in Asia Pacific is financial services, AI, ESG and green economy. We have actually cybersecurity and digital marketing and health tech. And now I'm going to hand over the floor to Prerna, and I would come back with a few examples later. Thank you. Prerna, you're on mute.
Thanks, John Rock. So let me just take an opportunity to reintroduce myself. So I currently manage the contracting and permanent desk for financial services for Morgan Phillip and Asia Pacific region. Today, in the coming slides, I want to be able to talk about some of the contracting models that are being widely adapted in Asia Pacific region and how potentially Morgan Phillips can be an additional source in case you do decide to hire contractors in the future. Obviously, we'll also be talking about some of the benefits between hiring as a contractor versus hiring as a perm from both an employer's perspective and also from a candidate's perspective. So in terms of the models, currently, there are mainly two models that are widely practiced in Hong Kong, one of which gives you the option as a client to park the candidate under an agency payroll, let's say Morgan Phillips payroll. In that case, what happens is basically we take care of the candidate's payroll administration. We support you with the recruitment services and also help on the HR operation aspect, which can be outsourced to an intermediary such as Morgan Phillips to take care of that. So it's very quick, it's very efficient. We do also offer end-to-end placement support, which I'll also touch a little bit more in the coming slides. But what that means is basically check-ins with the candidates to make sure they are happy with the role. Any red flags that can be flagged out that can be easily done through our really, really solid customer support service that we do provide after the candidate is onboarded. Also, another very good option for this is when you're parking the candidate under an agency payroll, you're basically paying as you go on the number of the days the candidate works for. So let's say if the candidate works for 26 days in a month, you're basically being charged on the 26 days that he or she has worked with the markup, which might range from 20% to 30%, depending on the add-on additional benefits that you opt for this candidate. The second model is obviously putting the candidate directly under your payroll system. So that is very similar to what we offer as a fixed term or a permanent staff, but that's being done on a 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, whichever the duration of the contract is. In that case, all the HR functions and everything related to payroll administration, visas, making sure the candidate has right to work, it's being done by you directly, by your HR, local HR. And, as an agency, we support you till recruitment services and making sure we find the right candidate for you. So on a paper perspective, the headcount is actually parked under you not an agency. So in that case, you have to take care of end-to-end services, including, as I just mentioned. Next slide, please. I also want to go a little bit more in terms of what are the benefits of hiring a contractor from an employer's perspective versus hiring as a perm. I think the most obvious one is the flexibility. As it's a short-term duration contract, you can easily scale up the workforce up or down based on the project demands without the long-term commitment. It also offers you the cost control, which means that it can potentially lower the costs related to benefits, paid leave, and any other employee-related expenses. It also gives you an access to specialized skills because most of these previous candidates would have either done a contract in their tenure or are immediately available or are actually returning back from a career break. They can quickly bring in very niche expertise for various specific projects without the need for hiring any permanent, without the need of hiring him or her as a permanent staff. This also helps to reduce the hiring risk because you're basically minimizing the long-term employment risk as the contracts are typically project-based. So it can range from 3 months, 6 months, 12 months to begin with, and you can decide whether you want to renew the contract later or potentially convert this person into a permanent staff later at the end of the contract. Another very good advantage is it's a very it helps you to faster deploy the candidate and bring this person on board very quickly. Contractors can often, as I said, work immediately. So it also reduces the onboarding time. Based on my experience, the fastest I've onboarded someone for one of my clients was within 24 hours. So we got a role, and this person needed to start next day, and we were able to do that within 24 hours. So it's very quick and it's very efficient. And it can also act as a testing, as an opportunity for you to evaluate the contractor's performance before considering him to be considered as a permanent employee. Now, if we look at the permanent side of things, the benefits includes, organizational stability because the permanent employees contribute to be a consistent, stable workforce and also adds to the company culture, which obviously helps on the knowledge retention as well because they're so deep rooted in the company. Long-term employees develop deeper understanding of the company processes and they become the brand ambassadors in the near future. That increases their employee loyalty and also they stay with the company for a longer duration of time. Next slide, please. So this slide basically summarizes a little bit on the benefits for contracting from a candidate's perspective, why candidates will want to take up a contract. First is, I think it gives them the flexibility and autonomy. A lot of the contractors often have more control over their schedules and work arrangements. Some people would probably want to work for a 6-hour and 8-hour work schedule. Hence, contractors can definitely provide that kind of scalability. Hence, a lot of the candidates sometimes when they are working moms, they probably prefer to go over contract versus a perm. So that flexibility, autonomy is one of the very critical things that candidates are very happy with. It also offers them diverse experience because most of the opportunities come to work on a lot of different projects because once if you're working for a short period of time, the exposure that you get on the projects is very advanced, enhancing their skills and their resume at the end of the day. It also acts as a potential for higher pay because if I were to say most of the contract positions offer really high increments to the candidates, normally it ranges from 20% all the way to 30%. So that offers a potential for a lot of the candidates to act for a project-based rates to compensate the lack of benefits and job security they get instead of taking up a permanent job because most of the contracts don't offer gratuity bonuses or any discretionary bonus at the end of the contract. Hence, the base salary increases very significantly if they're taking up a contract position. It also offers a quick entry and exit. It's very easier to start and leave the roles without the long-term commitment. So sometimes candidates really do prefer that kind of a schedule that fits into the overall well-being of them as well. It also gives them a skill development opportunity and networking opportunity because they're working with multiple organizations that can help them to expand professional connections. Now, if you look on the permanent side from a candidate's perspective, it offers job security. I think that's the number one that we hear in the market is candidates do look for job securities. Permanent roles offer greater stability and assurance on the ongoing employment, benefits, and income. But I think with the given market conditions right now across the APAC region, which obviously PR has also touched in the initial slides, even the job security on a permanent basis is becoming a real cause for candidates to think about because we have seen a lot of redundancies happening across multiple industries. So even if you have a permanent job, that's a question mark at this point of time as well. So it also, the second benefit of obviously it's the benefit and perks. They get better annual leaves, discretionary bonuses, entitlement to fringe benefits like gym membership, retirement plans, paid leaves, and other employment benefits. Hence, a lot of the candidates prefer to go for a permanent role versus a contract. I think it also helps with the company loyalty and the recognition because if they do stay longer with the company, there is a high potential for recognition, getting awards, a sense of contributing to the company's long-term success instead of taking up a 3 months or a 6 months contract where they potentially would have to leave right after the contract finishes. Next slide, please. This slide basically gives you a summary of how the contracting process works. So let's say if you do ever decide to hire a contractor, how that works is you can reach out to Morgan Phillip, obviously one of our specialized member of the team would reach out and speak to you about the requirements, including asking about the jobs and responsibilities of the role, what's the time frame that you're looking to hire this contractor, working hours, just so that we can go back and speak to the candidates and inform them about how things are going to work. Once we have taken the brief, we have a policy that we do revert back with the shortlisted candidates within 48 hours. So we do give you the first shortlist consisting of 3 to 5 candidates CVs within the stimulated time of 48 hours. We've actually done it a little bit quicker as well, but we normally are able to deliver within the preferred time limit. So once the CVs are shortlisted for the suitable candidates, we then help you to arrange the first, second, third rounds of interviews with the hiring manager. I do want to highlight that before the shortlist is presented, we do make sure that we've actually thoroughly screened the candidates twice. So one is a phone interview that we conduct with the candidate, and the second is a face-to-face meeting before the candidate is being presented to you. So they're thoroughly being vetted by us before they actually go and meet with the hiring manager. So we'll help you to set up the interviews after, and then once you have selected the right candidate for that contract position, the chosen candidate will then be notified, and we will then help you to prepare all the contracts for both on the client side, obviously on your side between Morgan Phillip and you, and then also from a candidate's perspective, we will do that. We'll prepare an employment contract and collect all the relevant documents like Hong Kong ID card and right to work, and making sure that this person can start work immediately or within the notice period. So once the candidate starts, we will actually also do check-ins with both yourself and candidates in beginning of the assignment. And then we'll be issuing you a monthly invoice, and the candidate also has to fill in a timesheet that's being sent over to the candidate to fill, and then that needs to be attested by the hiring manager that it's correct and accurate. Once that's being done, then we go ahead and pay the candidate on time. Normally, the timesheet needs to be submitted on the 22nd of every month, and then we do process the payroll within the next by 28th of every month as well, and then issue you the invoice as per the payment terms of normal 30 days. If you have any questions, more than happy to answer at the end of the presentation, but now I'll pass my time to John Rock to explain you a little bit more on the recent case studies that we've done with some of our clients.
Thank you, Bernard. So basically, a little bit on the personal path and how I quickly and 10 years ago understood that the contracting was the path, and I needed to switch there, basically. So I come with a very audit and corporate investment bank profile where I've spent 20 years. And I've been working in France, I've been working in the USA and in Asia Pacific, in Japan and in Hong Kong. Back in 2014, my bank basically transferred me back to New York. I've already worked 5 years for them over there, and it was a very key project, $500 million US project actually that I needed to launch. And out of my 100 member team, I had actually 42 consultants. Those consultants were actually very specialized. Veterans of the industry, millennials and Gen Z with a gift knowledge. And basically, they were switching from one bank to another. They were staying for about 12 months, and after they were going to the other bank, because actually all systemic banks needed at that time to match actually and pass what we say the IHC Intermediate Holding Company program, which was to guarantee the US taxpayer basically that what happened in 2007 would never happen again. So those banks were domestic or foreign owned, and basically the teams, including our team of 42, basically, were jumping from one client to another when actually the project was over. We're talking here about the data, about the modeling, about regulatory, about compliance, and about finance. And so this was a little bit of a shock for me because I was sent there to run the project for 12 to 18 months to launch it, basically. But I was so convinced that contracting was the way that I decided to resign and to set up my own contracting company. Come back to Hong Kong because Hong Kong was actually my kind of home country since 2007. And this is where I foresee that the market would be taking up a little bit later than the US, but with a certain path. In the end, I had the right vision, and it bring me up to joining Morgan Phillips here, helping to position the contracting and to implement interim management, especially for financial services. Can go to the next slide. Okay, so I'm going to take actually the example here of what we did recently with a corporate investment bank here in Hong Kong. It was back to summer 2025, so very recent. And it all started with us meeting with the management team, the full management team. I think is very important when we address innovation in HR and when we invest a lot into this segment, that we're able not only to speak with you guys in HR, but also with the managers, the C-level, the CEO, the COO, and the line managers. So we met with them basically, and they were trying for a few positions to source permanent since a long time. And even with a PSL, they were not able basically to find. So we had a good discussion. We came back, and after actually one day, we heard back from them. They say, we'd like to give it a try. Why not? Why don't you try to source for us a contract for this position? So it was to address a bottleneck in the operations department, and it was really a position they were not able to source. After 48 hours, actually, Prerna came back with 5 candidates. Less than 2 weeks after, it was the offer extended, and 1 month after, the 9-month contract has started. So, of course, this bank was very happy. And then we sourced one other position immediately after, which was in a different sector, but still with the same efficiency. That means the profiles are sourced within 48 hours, and we are able actually to onboard within 1 month on average. So this is linked also to the very unique specificity of Morgan Phillips to be able to source those profiles. It's not luck, actually, it's professionalism. And this is basically what we like to share today. What the C-level liked basically was, one, it was cost efficient. It was a clear alternative for a department's bottleneck, but without increasing the cost on a long run. It's just for 9 months, basically, or for 12 months. Then it was a professional solution. So we are not providing generalist profile. We are providing actually expert and skill middle-age level, basically, and then full flexibility and the ability at the end or during the contract to convert to permanent. I'm going to take another example, and it would be the last one for today. We can go to the next slide, actually, because it's not only the bank, of course, recruiting, it's also, of course, all industries. Okay, so I take the example of premium corporate and luxury, but it's also the case with SMEs, and it's also the case with real tech companies, basically. Okay, so it is a common knowledge that basically luxury companies' strategies have been actually to relocate a few of their head office, whether regional or global, out of Hong Kong to Shanghai and to Singapore, basically. This comes, but of course, the activity never stops. That means that whatever the decision is made, you have team on the ground, and some basically are going to say, great, it's an opportunity. I'm happy to go to Shanghai or to Singapore. But some are going to say, for personal reason or for family reason or other reason, sorry guys, I cannot follow you. I cannot relocate. So for those, basically contracting is a solution because we could provide two types of profiles. We could first provide a profile which is going to be there for a few months ahead of the move and after the move on the project mode, and we can also provide the contractors for the profiles who refuse to follow and basically are going to be possibly the future permanent hires for the activities being based in two different countries. Okay, so here we see that as a clear solution to face the unexpected. Of course, when head office decide, they believe that everyone is going to follow, but it's not always the case. Then the project team and professionals, our profiles were able to source, okay? And then it remained, as explained by Prerna, very transparent, very flexible. You use as you need and you pay when you need, actually. And just to end with another advantage would be locally sourced. We source locally. We source basically guys who are authorized to work because they are here permanently in the country. We look for them, or they are native, basically. Voilà. So this is actually a few words, a few examples. We could have selected more examples, basically, of the accompaniment we help. But as mentioned by Pierre, we can be contacted after this webinar, and feel free, basically, to ask us the question. We will not be able to answer due to time constraints, but we would respond to you. Thank you, and I hand the floor back to Pierre and Karen for the Q&A.
Yeah, we will try to take at least one question each. I see a few have been have been asked, so I will answer the first one from Rajiv, who is asking how is the recruitment scenario for senior roles in the retail industry. That's a good and interesting question. The recruitment landscape for senior retail roles, and even in other industries, actually has changed quite significantly in the last 3 years. Historically, what we saw pre-COVID was a lot of centralization, right? With major retailers, for example, basing their regional HQs in cities like Hong Kong or Singapore. These senior roles usually oversaw large multi-market operations. So we had regional MDs, VPs, merchandising heads, regional marketing directors, and so on. But with the slowdown in retail, the margin pressure, the accelerated growth of e-commerce, the fast fashion industry coming in, Many organizations have rethought their structures in the last few years, and the result has been decentralization, as you may know, shifting more autonomy to country or market level teams and removing some of the regional layers and regional roles, also the regional senior roles that used to exist. So this means fewer big senior roles, let's say, at the hub level. We are now seeing higher demand for agile, commercially minded, general managers, sometimes more junior, but who can oversee smaller but highly dynamic markets. We also have a lot of demand for digital transformation leaders who can bring online, offline integration, or senior professionals who can work across emerging market clusters rather than single large regions, for example. So really to conclude, and I hope I answered your question, Rajiv, retail organizations are still looking for senior talent in a way, but the roles are different. It's more today, it's more about versatility, adaptability, and commercial agility rather than managing large regional teams from a central hub. Prana, Jean-Roch, do you see any questions you'd like to answer?
Yes, I saw one on the activities, basically, where we see the most attractivity for contracting. So I would mention about financial services because this is the part I'm actually more familiar with. But financial services covers a wide range of opportunities, basically. We see in Hong Kong, there is a high demand still on the SFC for new license and for new license corporations and for new license individuals. And basically that comes with a bunch of opportunities for startup who start with a huge amount of capital, basically, because SFC requires this for security. And we can see opportunities there in compliance. We can see in AI, we can see in IT, we can see in finance, basically the full range of the supporting functions. Cybersecurity also very, very dynamic in EFS, and we see also for the digital marketing, I would say. So this was for financial services. I don't know if Pierre, you want to comment on other markets, but this was my sector that I know by heart, and there is a lot of opportunity for contracting and a lot of opportunity for contracting 9 to 12 months, and that would be converted to permanent. Of course, startups, they are coming with a large experience from probably banks or other asset managers, but they don't want to take a risk. When you start, you want every profile to be super sharp and super efficient. And then you start with contract, you ensure this is the right profile, and then you convert to perm. Okay, any other question? I don't know.
Yeah, there's quite a few. Prana, is there any you'd like to take, or you'd like to get back to some of these later?
I'll pick the question asked by Joseph. So he asked, would the candidate work at the same time zone as the project team does? And the second question follow-up was, and would the candidate work hybrid mode, on-site or remote? So to be honest, it's being decided as a client. You need to decide whether you do hire, whether this person needs to. So in terms of the timelines, in terms of how this person is going to work, the candidates are quite flexible, and we brief the candidates according to how you want this role to be structured. So there isn't the right or wrong answer to it. If you want this person to work on a different time zone, we can definitely brief the candidates accordingly. And normally the second question you asked was whether it's going to be on-site and remote. It's mainly going to be on-site, somewhere working in Hong Kong, to be able to fulfill that contracting need. If you have any further questions, more than happy to take that later as well.
Yeah, I'll just answer a last one before we finish this webinar. Frank is asking if we are offering contracting services in all APAC countries across all sectors. So we are offering contracting services in countries where we have a physical presence, where we have a legal entity. So at the moment, we are talking about mainland China, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Malaysia, and Singapore. If we don't have a legal entity, we can still provide the recruitment service, meaning we can still source and find the candidates and then use another company, a third party, to payroll and contract this person with your company. So we've got a network of suppliers, of partnerships, so we will be able to help in the whole Asia Pacific region. So I hope this answered the question. I see a few other questions. So we are reaching the end of this webinar, so we will get back to you individually. I promise you that. So please give us some time, and we will answer the questions that are left unanswered. Thanks a lot, everyone. Feel free to contact us once again, even if anything comes to your mind, or if you'd like to clarify any trend, any process about the contracting models, etc. We are here to help, and we're here to answer you. Thanks a lot for your attention. Bye bye.